The desert. Okay, the desert is a place where the Boko Haramists have native ability. So they know where the sand will not carry heavy vehicles. And if you dare pursue them and they get you into that desert quagmire, you are done for. But then I will owe and remain grateful to the Nevada Desert Research Institute in Reno. And to this day, I still feel we should by now have a desert research institute somewhere in Borno State. And the reason is simple. Dust itself has what you call dust particulate structure. If you study a grain of dust and you log what you've been able to capture, you will go anywhere on the planet so long as you have records. You see, how do I explain it? The sand in Bar Beach is different from the sand in Ikorodu. So if I killed a terrorist and I took dust shavings off his boots, I'll go to his camp. Hello. If I took dust shavings off his tire tracks of the car and we do our forensics, he can't hide, not under the sun. Okay? Dust, again, has a very funny and interesting characteristics. There's a lot of dust in Borno State because of the soil structure. Fine sand is dust. Given the kind of dust you have there, your viscosity levels will differ. So what kind of engine oil you use for your vehicle will be determined by particulate matter. What is particulate matter? Particulate matter is the measurement of the texture of the grains of dust in different areas of the world. So, how do you use that information? You now know exactly what kind of engine oil to use for your vehicles, or else they will clog up your weapons, or else they will clog up. And other than dust, there is also another advantage we have tended to overlook, still on dust. It's called a dust storm. If you remember Operation Desert Storm.
I was going to go through that.
That was from, I think, August 1990 to February 91.
Yes, I thought it was even 89. So that's
yes.
George W. Bush, the senior.
General Norman Schwarzkopf led his men, and they used information from desert institutes like the one in Reno, Nevada, and waited for a dust storm. A dust storm is such an immense wind-aided movement of fine sand. A dust storm can bury this building. If you see sand dunes in the desert. So when a dust storm shifts overnight, just like you have winter, and snow can fall so much and virtually bury any building that is not properly built. The same thing with dust. Dust can actually cover the entire building here, and you come tomorrow, this building will have disappeared. Then another time, the dust can shift.
Never had the experience. We've seen it portrayed in movies.
Good. Now, a dust storm, I can easily, from December to February, when the northeastern winds are upon Maiduguri, you call that Harmattan. I can easily point out to you those nights when the dust storms will set in against the terrorists.
Wow.
So we use the dust storm as a shield. Okay? Yes. The dust won't let them see. Visibility will be poor. They do not have the kind of sophistication to detect movements. So we can move in and we'll virtually pick them up. Okay. There are so many other options. There are also biological options. These biological options, if you think pathogens, for example, pathogen, you know what a pathogen is. Before you walk out of UNILAG Biological Sciences, there are PhDs and professors there that will give you a lot of lectures about pathogens. And you discover these terrorists, they like to ask for food. Sometimes they want to negotiate. They ask you to bring them 100 boxes of Indomie, 10 bags of rice, energy drink, 20 cartons, and what. With the right minds in biological sciences, say Unilag, we could sit down and engineer. We will nano engineer a pathogen. It will necessarily kill them, but it could
demobilize them.
Demobilize you. And then the same people will give me an antidote. And you know.
So it's a famous chimera and Bellerophon.
Exactly.
So you create the disease.
Yeah, beautiful.
You also create a cure.
The cure. So we see a lot of opportunity for growth, which we really haven't taken in the last 12 years because the entire thing has been politicized. It's been politicized. It's been weaponized. It's been commercialized. And what have you? The northeastern debacle, banditry, kidnapping, they have become cash cows. They've become cash cows. And the only people whom I see at the receiving end, the fall guys, if you like, are our gallant but battle-weary troops. Because until we take this politicization, weaponization, commercialization, and cashing out on the problem out of it, and replace it with the political will to end it, our soldiers will fight and fight. Our policemen, our DSS, you name them. There will be no end to these things.
We've literally run out of videos. They're everywhere of this young soldiers in battle lines, in the heat of battle, getting stuck, sometimes even feeling that maybe they were set up, maybe the intelligence provided was wrong, or and we've seen all those videos. You talked about the Northeast, which has become a bit of a symbol for terrorism in Nigeria, the various terrorist groups and all of that. But we've also seen terrorism in the Niger Delta. The video some years ago of Niger Delta militants attacking naval positions, Navy ships, and all of that in daylight. Scary thing. You're watching it and you're like, is this a movie? But it's actually our sons and daughters being decimated. The whole surprise of it makes you think of the whole Hawaii situation during the war when the Japanese attacked the Americans. You mentioned strategies that could be employed. Do you remember the video of the Israeli army intercepting a supply of communications equipment that was intended for
the
Hamas and the top brass, and then and then people, think blowing up in there,
blowing their heads off. I know where you're going. Yeah. You see, fighting conventional warfare is different from fighting what you call asymmetric warfare. If you try conventionalities with Boko Haram or bandits,
you lose.
It will be akin to trying to trap tadpoles with a fishing net. They will swim right through it. Okay. And when they swim right through your fishing net, they take notes and get bolder. So when you want to fight this kind of war, as I told you, there is a blueprint. Each arm of your design for battle, each component of your design for battle. And this time, when I say design for battle, I'm not limiting it to the armed forces. There is a road safety component. There's a civil defense component. There is a Nigerian police force component. There is a community joint task force component, and there must be blueprints. This is your duty. This is what you will do in counter-terrorism mode. Okay? So here's the thing. Creativity, metacognition sets in. If you are used to this is how we have been doing it, you won't get there. If you are into, you don't tell us how to do our jobs, you won't get there. The most sophisticated weaponry you see today, fighter aircrafts, artillery guns, they were not built by soldiers. They were built by civilians like you in laboratories. They did what they had to do, got civilians to invest in the companies that build this weaponry.
And of course, the academia.
Exactly, and the academia. And at the end of the day, they bring you a finished product and say, hey, Mr. General, this is the AK-47. This is the FNSLR. This is the GPMG and RPG and what have you. So what we are trying to say here is, when you have situations like this, you must be able to encourage people to come forward with ideas. Look at what is happening in the Northeast. Look at what is happening in the Southeast. Look at what is happening in the South. Even some patches, some swats of the North Central. What do they have that is common? They are all what you call rebellion against what I want to call irresponsible political conduct of leadership. Our politicians are notorious for opening chapters of crisis, and afterwards they bring in the uniform boys to come and mop it up. They tend to rest with this popular refrain that the worst democracy is better than the best military rule. Fine, that's true, but that doesn't mean you should do your worst in a democracy. Most of the crises, the conflicts you see happening today, call it what you like, they are just actually what you can call byproducts of some irresponsibly handled political situation. Some are even being exploited now politically. So the way forward, as I said, started 10 years ago. If we go back to the drawing board and begin to open these vistas of solutions that were proffered, you'll see the way through. By now, you should sit down and second guess a terrorist mastermind. If you've lived with someone for 12 years, you should know a lot about the person, his nuances, his behaviorals, and everything. But we need to put it together into a plan, and then you'll see things begin to sit properly.
What do you think happened to the blueprint you provided to leadership?
I will first start with my own state. I come from one of the most afflicted states, that is Niger State. And I was privileged to avail the outgone governor, not the present one, with those blueprints. Outside of my state, I was privileged to avail a late service chief, those blueprints of blessed memory. He's deceased now. I was privileged to give to someone. I don't know whether he got it, but that person is as close as your ear is to your head, to our sitting president. Right when the president was still at Bodilon, I availed that blueprint. But one thing I noticed is, anytime I put that blueprint before people, they suddenly become incommunicado. I can't get through with calls, and even when I send messages, they are not responded to. I just hit what you call blank wall. I have also tried my utmost for Benue State and Plateau State through persons I know have the ears of the present governors. But then it just, so there is something somewhere that is seemingly deterring or discouraging us from going full swing and saying, you know what, we have to end this. And it could be done. Let me take you back. Once upon a time, a certain chief of army staff, General Buratai Tukur, decided to build or mooted super camps. A super camp is what it is, a camp, but it's super in the sense that some super camps could be 5 kilometers radius. That's how big a super camp can be. And inside the super camp, you could have any number of soldiers. You could have 2,000 soldiers, tri-service, Army, Air Force, Navy. You will have an airstrip. You'll have everything. When I heard about the super camps again, I was excited. Because a super camp is located in a place that makes it equidistant to everywhere within that region. So once you take an aircraft up there from that super camp, you are there record time.
So response time just goes up.
When General Buratai brought about the super camp, I was so excited. I reached out to colleagues and I was, I was inundated with solutions. So we were able to bring about a solution, which I actually took as far as television stations with short clips. You imagine your daughter or your son having a birthday. It's that cheap. So because I know anything you push forward, they say, we don't have money. There is we can't finance this, too expensive, but we've paid almost so many billions now to bandits and rebels that could have bought the solutions. Now here it is. Imagine you had a daughter or a son who was celebrating his or her birthday. There is this balloon you bring and you fill it with helium.
Yeah.
And on its own, it goes up because helium is lighter than air.
True.
So here's the thing. Let me stretch your mind. Supposing we got a giant balloon, a balloon as big as this room, and we filled it with helium and tethered it with 2 kilometers of rope and gave it a payload of cameras that could take it up from the super camp, right there from the super camp, 2 kilometers. And it could give us 80 to 100 kilometers radius of visibility by day and 60 kilometers radius visibility at night, on time, real time. What do you think we do? We have an eye in the sky. In fact, I want the rebels to shoot my Teflon balloon because that will tell me where they are.
Where they are. The Americans shot down the Chinese balloon a couple years ago.
Good. So when you take that balloon up, it's like what you do in tourism. They call them air balloons, and you get an aerial view of the city, and but this one is stationary.
So that is not rocket science.
It's not. Before I walk through Aba, I'll bring that balloon home, or Niger. I mean, if people could fight the civil war unaided, it's a blessing, it's a plus. Yes, it's a plus. By now, our country should have 6 armies. Again, that's outlandish way back when I was thinking it, but now it makes sense. By now, Nigeria should have 6 armies. We should have a desert army. We should have what you call an amphibious army.
Yeah.
We should have a mountain army. We should have, the jungles of Umunede. Have you been there? You see Iroko trees in the jungles of Umunede that you need 11 people to hold hands to go around. I have a picture like that. Okay. We looked at the Bakassi Peninsula area. When Nigerian soldiers, when we fought in Bakassi, we lost some of our colleagues to pythons. Yes. We have rich, diverse vegetation. And geography here? We're blessed. Anyone you talk about, waterways we have, you mention it. But we have not exploited those things that we require to govern to get a hold of our ungoverned spaces. And that's why you see all manner of people coming here to do what they like, from bandits to kidnappers to terrorists. Lately I heard there are foreigners who are even digging precious resources, mineral resources everywhere they like. They just go and take, because we haven't really owned our nation's spaces.
You're a DNI guy. You are a former intelligence military man. If you were still in service now, you will be approaching full general.
I would be, it's not a given. I'll tell you why. The way the armed forces operates, only God knows where I could be. I could be dead. I could be retired. I could be a notch or two below my classmates. It's like a pyramid. And as you go higher, there are fewer slots.
Understand.
Exactly. So who gets it at a point becomes a matter of who the commander-in-chief wants. Exactly.
So there is politics in the military.
There is. There is. Because if tomorrow the commander-in-chief decides to say, for example, to the the chief of defense staff, General, thank you for your services. I think you should now take a bow. And the general is retired, of course. The commander-in-chief decides to pick a member of, say, Regular 41 as the new chief of defense staff. What happens is automatically anyone who is senior to 41 retires.
Has to be retired.
Yes.
It's a problem even in the police.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why you hear they are very sensitive about tenure extension. When your tenure is extended, you are going to eat into our tenure, being your juniors.
And it's going to affect
And it's going to affect us because at a point we are ready to become the next service chief, our tenure may have expired because we've already put in our 35 mandatory years.